Okay. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to IB discussion, let's say. So today we will solve some past paper. I forgot the year. I will put it the name and the year and the time zone in the description. I mean, in the name of the video as well. I think it's 2021 or something like that. The time zone 2, May paper, standard level, paper 1. If I'm not mistaken. We are going to solve this, however, without GDC. So there are some questions where we will require the GDC, the calculator, but we will not use it. I will just tell you know on the screen that which sections you need to go in, because the GDC could be different from GDC TI plus 84, or could be the other one, I Inspire. So maybe you have the different versions, so I will not go into details of that. I'll just let you know what's the important part of the code, let's say. But apart from that, I will solve everything else by hand, manually on the screen. And we will try to finish it in under 80 minutes, of course, as fast as we can. So I'm not sure how fast it will be, because I will be also explaining the solutions, obviously. But I am trying to, let's say in this video, I'm trying to make it as fast as I can for the first time recording on the screen the solution of this. So it could be even more than 80 minutes. It's possible, but let's see what we can do. So let's see. We start from the 1207, and let's see how fast it will be. And I hope you will enjoy the solutions, and I hope you will enjoy the video. Okay, so we can start now. Let's go on. The amount of in milligrams of a medicinal drug in the body T hours after it was injected is given by this function for T bigger than or equal than 0. Before this injection, the amount of the drug in the body was 0. Okay, write down the initial dose of the drug. Well, the initial dose means when your T is equal to 1, okay, because before everything else it was 0. So if you when you have T equals to 0, because that's the initial case, so you have to check T equals to 0. So D0 then will be equal to 23 times 0.85 to the power of 0. This will be equal to 23 to the times 1, because anything to the power of 0 is 1, and that will be equal to 23. Okay, and of course this is in milligrams, as it says, so you can write milligrams. Okay, that's the part AI, and part AII, the percentage of the drug that leaves the body each hour. Well, the percentage of the body that is inside the body, so how much milligrams you have inside your body, is given by this function. So the amount that will leave you will be the vice versa of this. What does it mean? It means that here, for example, you have 23 multiplied with something between 0 and 1 to the power of t, right? Which means if I, instead of 0.85, I had 1 here, okay, then this this 23 times 1 to the power of t wouldn't change, because anything to the power of 1, anything to the power of t, like any power of 1 to the power of t or whatever, will still be equal to 1, right? So you will have 23 anyways. So this means this 0.85 here means the percentage in some sense. So 0.85 percentage is how much you will have inside your body, and 0.15, which is the complement of 0.85, will be how much is leaving your body each hour. Okay, so 1 minus 0.85, which is equal to 0.15. This is how much is leaving your body each hour, because this much is how much is staying, and this much is how much it is leaving. Of course, this is a percentage, so you could also write it 15%. Okay. Okay, they're asking for percentage, so this will be the correct answer. That's AII, that's perfect. So last question, calculate the amount of the drug remaining in the body 10 hours after the injection. Well, we have the function, all we have to do is just plug in the value. So basically we need to look at TD10, which is equal to 23 times 0.85 to the power of 10. Well, this you can do with calculator. I will not do it. I can also use the calculator of my laptop, but basically this will give you a value if you use in the calculator, and that will be your answer. Okay, this is the amount of drug remaining in the body after 10 hours of the injection. Okay, that concludes the whole solution. I will clear the screen. Let me go to the next one. Okay, an inclined railway travels along a straight track on a steep hill, as shown in the diagram. The locations of the stations on the railway can be described by coordinates in references to x, y, and z axes. Okay, we have a coordinate system. It's just three-dimensional, where x and y are axes are in the horizontal plane. Okay, and the z axis is vertical. Okay, that's fine. The ground level station A has coordinates, and the station B, which is located near the top of the hill, have another coordinate, of course, and all coordinates are given in meters. Perfect. We have two coordinates, 2 points, and we have three-dimensional coordinate system. Find the distance between stations and A and B. Well, how do we find the distance between 2 points in a coordinate system? Well, the formula tells us the distance between A and B will be equal to the square root, okay, difference between the coordinates element-wise. So this would be basically 20 minus 140 square, okay, plus 5 minus 15 square, plus 250 minus 0 square. Okay, so square root of the sums of the differences of the elements of the coordinates element-wise, take of the and taking the square. Okay, so this will give you an answer. I will not find out, but that will be your answer. Okay, in the formula it should be written probably something like this: x1 or x2 doesn't matter, square plus y2 minus y1 square. So element-wise, x is first, y is next, and then the z's. z1 minus or z2 minus z1 doesn't matter, squared, and then you sum them all up and then take the square root. Why it doesn't matter which one comes first? Because we are taking the square of it. So even if it's negative or positive, it wouldn't matter for us, because at the end, when we take the square, it will be positive anyways. And that will give the answer for the part A. Okay, let's see the part B. Station M is to be built halfway between stations A and B. Okay, write down find the coordinates of the station M. Well, that's even easier than the part A. You just have to take the M to be equal. Well, that will be 140 plus 20 divided by 2. That's the midpoint for the first element. Then you have 15 plus 5 divided by 2, and then you have 0 plus 250 divided by 2. This would be your midpoint, which will be equal to 80, 10, and 125. Okay, so that's the answer for the part B. That's again easier than the first one, comparatively, of course. Both of them are rather easy if you remember the formulas. Final question, write down the height of the station M in meters above the ground. Well, we know that the first two coordinates are for X and Y, right? And the last one is for Z. And in the question, it says that X and Y are for the horizontal plane. Okay, so to the left and right, to the up and to the forward and backwards. But Z will be up and down. So which means the height of the station. Okay, so we need to look at the element Z, okay, in this coordinate. Okay, which is 125. So your answer is 125. Okay, this will be answered for part C, to be clear. Okay, so we move on to the next question. Again, I will be a little bit quick in this. So let me clear the screen. The question number 3. A storage container consists of a box of length 90, 40, and 34 centimeter, and the lid in the shape of a half cylinder, which is on top of this. Okay, as shown in the diagram, the lid fits the top of the box exactly. Okay, the total exterior surface of the storage container is to be painted. Find the area to be painted. So I have to find the area of this whole box. Well, okay, how can I find this out? Well, it's quite easy. So I have to find the area here, okay, and the area here. I have to find the area here and the area here as well. Then I have to find the area for the cylinder. Okay, so what I have that 90 times 34, which is the area on the sides. Okay, so this one here and this one here. Okay, and that will be 2 times because we have 2 of them. That's perfect. What else we have? We also have the area on the side. So this one, okay, and then this one. Okay, so that will be 42 times 34 times 2 because we have 2 of them. That's also fine. How do we find the area of these half circles? Well, we have two half circles, which means we have one full circle, but let's find the area of the half circle. Area of the full circle is PR squared, right? But since we have half of it, it will be PR squared divided by 2 for this one. It will be the same for this one, PR squared divided by 2. But if you add them up, you have PR squared anyways, okay? So what's our pi? It's a pi. I sometimes call it p, but because it's just to pronounce it faster. R, what will be R? R is our radius. And what will be our R? Well, this distance here is diameter, which means the half of it will be our radius. Okay, so half of 42 is 21. So you write pi times 21 squared. That will be area of this one plus this one. Okay, one final thing is left. We have to find the area of the this cover. Well, how we can do it? We have to multiply the length, which is this, okay, with the width of this half cylinder, so which is this one, okay. How we do this? Well, 90 is 90. There's nothing we can do about it. How do we find this half circle distance, length, let's say? Well, for the full circle, it's 2p times r, right? For the half circle, it will be p times r. Oops. P times r. Okay, this will be the width of the shape. Okay, so I have pi times r, which is 21, and that would be all. Now I have everything that I need. If I add these values, okay, I will have my answer to the question. Okay, and that will be all that you need to get. That will be all that you need to get the full marks for this question. Okay, let's move on to the question number 4. What we have, the diagram below shows a helicopter hovering at point H, 380 meters vertically above a lake. Point A is the point on the surface of the lake directly below the helicopter. That's fine. Minta is swimming at a constant speed in the direction point A. Okay, so she's going like this way. Perfect. Minta observes the helicopter from point C, and she looks upward at an angle of 25. It's given here. Okay, after 15 minutes, Minta is at point B. So 15 minutes passes, and we are already at point B. And she observes the same helicopter at this angle. That's also fine. Question number 1, question number A, write down the size of the angle of depression. Angle of depression means angle that goes downside. Okay, so this would be our angle. But how we can find the angle of depression from H to C? H is here, C is here. So what I do, I draw a line, horizontal line, and this angle is what I'm looking for. Okay, but this angle, because of the Z rule, well, some people call it in a different way, because we have two parallel lines here, right? So the first one is this orange one that I'm highlighting. The second one is this one, green, that I am highlighting with orange now. And since this is 25, this will be 25 as well. So the answer for the question number A is 25. Okay, question number B, find the distance from A to C. Let's see, from A to C. Well, how we can find it? Well, there are many ways, to be honest. I would say I'm not so sure, but the thing that comes to my mind right away is that to find the angles and to use the sine rule. Well, this angle here is this is 90. We have 90, 40, so this should be 50. That's fine. If you look at the bigger triangle now, we have 90, 25, which means this whole angle here will be 65. But we have already 15, so this little one should be 15. That's fine. So how do you find the distance from A to C? Well, I know that if I divide the distance from A to C with the sine that looks at that angle, at that side, so AC is overlooked by 65, okay, that will be equal to 380, the another side, divided by the angle, sine of the angle that is overlooked by that angle, basically, which is 25. Now, I have three known values and one unknown. I can do the cross multiplication and find my value. How does it work? Well, it works in the following way. Let me call AC to be x. Okay, so I have x times sine of 25 is equal to 380 times sine of 65. Oops. Yes. Now what I have to do is to leave x alone. X will be equal to 380 times sine 65 divided by sine of 25. Okay. Again, this x is the distance from A to C. I just denoted it by x because it's easier to write it down. Perfect. Now we have our answer after we write it down on calculator. That concludes the part B. Find the distance from B to C. How I can find it? Well, I can do the same logic. What I can do, let me use another color. I can find the distance from A to B and deduct it from the A to C. In that way, I will have distance from B to C. Okay, how can I find the distance from A to B? Well, I know that distance from A to B divided by sine of 50, again the sine rule, will be equal to 280 divided by sine of 40. Okay, with the same method as I used here, by cross multiplication, I can find here the distance of the AB. Okay, let's go that after some calculations, after using calculator, this will be equal to y, right? Some value, which I don't calculate for simplicity. Then it means that I found my AB, right? I know that what's the distance from AC. So if I deduct from AC, which is x, my distance from A to B, which is y, then I will have my answer, which is the distance from B to C. Simple. All I have to do is to use the sine rule again and again. I can find one of a few of these sides by using tangent and etc. But since I have the sine rule, I will just keep on that because for me it's simpler. But you can use any method you want, of course. Okay. So let's move on. Distance from B to C is found out. Find the mean test speed in meters per hour. Well, how can I find it? Well, it's the following. Let's say that we found the distance from B to C, right? We know that how much we have traveled. Let's say it is y meters, which you have found in the part C. Okay. So I need the time as well because I have the distance. I need to find the time. I need to have the time so that I can find the velocity. Well, time is 15 minutes, right? So now you have to use proportion or the logic. Let's say if in 15 minutes I can go 1 y meters, how much I would go in 60 minutes. Okay. Basically, in order to go from 15 minutes to 60 minutes, from 15 minutes to 60 minutes, you have to multiply by 4, right? Because we are checking the meters per hour, it says here, right? So from 15 minutes to 60 minutes, it's 4 times, which means the meters that I will cover in distance will be 4 times of this as well. So 4 times y. Okay, and that would be 4 times y per hour will be your speed. Okay, and that concludes the question number 4. Okay, let me clear the screen and move on to the next one. Question number 5. The number of sick days taken by each employee in a company during a year was recorded. The data was organized in a box and whisker diagram, okay, as shown below. For this data, write down the minimum number of sick days taken during the year. The minimum number would be the beginning of the box and whiskers, which is corresponding to 2, because every 2 box here, I think, is 1. So this will correspond to 2. So the answer for this one is 2. The lower quartile is the second vertical line that you see in the box and whiskers diagram, which is here, right? Which is corresponding to 6. Okay, the answer for this is 6. The median is the third line that you see in the box and whiskers, or let's say the one in the middle that looks like the middle line inside the, or the vertical line inside the syringe or something. Well, this is this line, which corresponds to 8, I think. So the answer for this one is 8. Easy peasy, 3 points. Okay. Paul claims that this box and whisker diagram can be used to infer that the percentage of employees who took fewer than 6 days, okay, 6 is here, is smaller than, so fewer means this area, is smaller than the percentage of the employees who took more than 11 sick days. Well, 11 is here, more than 11 is here. So Paul is saying that percentages here and here, okay, have some relationship between them. In fact, the first one, so fewer than 6 days, will be smaller than the percentage of the employees who took more than 11 sick days. That is it true though? Well, what's the question asking? State whether Paul is correct or not, and justify your answer as well. Well, Paul is not correct, that's for sure, because, and the reasoning, or you can write the reasoning first in the answer and then the result, but you have to write both of them. Because this first line here is your lower quartile, and this line here, this ends your syringe, let's say, is your upper quartile. And lower quartile and upper quartile, well, to the left of the lower quartile and to the right of the upper quartile, let's say, they both represented 25% of the whole population. Lower quartile is 25%, upper quartile is 75%. But since we are looking the people until lower quartile, we have 25%. And then we are looking for the people after upper quartile, which is another 25%, because 75 plus 25 is 100. So which means both of these areas that we are looking for here and here are both 25% of the whole employees. So Paul is not correct, and the justification is that the explanation is that they are both representing the same percentage of the overall employees. Okay, and that will bring us to the end of the question. Perfect. Question number 5 is also done. Let's go to the question number 6. Two schools are represented by points 1 and 2, A and B, on the graph below. A road represented by the line, perfect, and there's also an equation of it, all good, passes near the schools. An architect is asked to determine the location of a new bus stop on the road such that it is the same distance from the two schools. Okay, which means we need a point here, right, which will have a distance from A to B to be equal. Okay, and equality sign of the sides usually is written like this. Okay, so this should be equal. Well, that's fine. Question number 1, find the equation. Question number A, find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. Give your equation in the form of y equals to mx plus c. Well, what's the perpendicular bisector? Well, first of all, we draw a dotted line from A and B. And the perpendicular bisector will be the line that intersects AB into two equal parts, because it says bisector, okay, it will be equal to parts. Let's say 3 lines here and 3 lines here. So these two parts will be equal, and it will also be perpendicular. How we can find that? Well, there are a few information given to us, so let us use them. First of all, since it's a bisector, since the distance between A and B is sectioned into two equal parts, right, then that means this is a medium point between A and B. How do I find the medium point between A and B? Well, I find the medium point between A and B, let's call it M, by adding the coordinate-wise, element-wise the coordinates, so 2 plus 14 divided by 2 and divide by 2, and then do the same for the y, of course, 20 plus 24 divided by 2. And this will be equal to, of course, 8 to 22. So this is my midpoint. Now I know the point with the red dot here. Perfect. What else I need? What else I need to be able to draw this, to be able to write down the equation of this line? I need the tangent, or let's say the slope. How can I find the slope of this green line, the long line? Well, I need to find the slope of the AB line, and then use the fact that m1 times m2 equals to m minus 1. m1 and m2 are the slopes of two lines that are intersecting with 90 degrees, as we have here, AB and this bisector. So if you have two lines that are intersecting with 90 degrees, then this holds. First of all, let's find the slope of the AB line. Well, that would be equal to, let's call it m1, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This should be in your booklet, but I am not quite sure, but it is certainly something that you should know. Well, let's have a look. y2 is 24, y1 is equal to 20. Okay, and x2 is 14, and x1 is 2. This will be equal to 4 divided by 12, which is equal to 1 over 3. Now, I know that m1 times m2 is equal to minus 1. So 1 over 3 times m2 will be equal to minus 1, which means my m2, if we solve this equation, is equal to minus 3. Okay, so we have the slope of the bisector. So now I can write y equals to mx plus c is my general equation for the line. But now I already found out my slope. Let's use it. Y equals to minus 3x plus c. Okay, now I only need to find the c. How I can find the c? By just plugging in any point to this equation, I will be able to find c. Well, I have the m, which is passed through by this bisector line. So this point m is lying on this line, so I can plug into this line. Otherwise, I cannot. If there's another point here, of course, I cannot plug into here because it will not satisfy the equation. It's not on the line. But this one satisfies, so I plug in. So 22 will be equal to minus 3 times 8 plus c, which means my c will be equal to, well, 46. Okay, So finally, my equation of the line will be looking like this: y equals to minus 3x plus 46. And that concludes the question number A. I will move on very quickly again. So let's delete everything else here. Also these two, also this two, so also this one, also this one. Okay, perfect. That's question number A. Determine the coordinates of the point on R where the bus stop should be located. Well, this is now easier question because we said that we need to have this dotted line between A and B, or the line, and then we have a point here, which is the bus stop. That's fine. And then these two distances should be equal, etc. And then we had this bisector. That's also fine. But how we can find this intersection point? Well, intersection point of the two lines are found by equating the equations of the line. The first one has the formula given like this: minus 3x plus 46. The second one, this line R, is given to us already in the question, which is minus x plus y equals to 4. Okay, so I need to equate these two equations. Well, in order to equate this one to this one, I have to leave y alone here, of course. And it means minus x plus y equals to 4, which means y equals to 4 plus x. That's perfect. That's what I need. So this will be equal to 4 plus x. Now, if I leave the x alone, I will have that 42 is equal to 4x, which means x equals to 10.5, right? And now I need to find my y value. I can plug in this value to any of these equations to find out my y value. Let's try the minus x plus y equals to 4. So I have minus 10.5 plus y equals to 4, and so y will be equal to 14.5. Okay. Now if you try this out with the second equation, you will still get the same y value. So the point that you are looking for is 10.5, comma 14.5. Okay, that will be the location of the bus. Okay, and that would be all for this question. Let's move on. Question number 7 now. Okay, that's all good. A function is defined in some way. Find the range of f. Okay, how do you find the range of f? We are given the domain. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, well, we have a GDC. We can sketch this out. Okay, we can do that. But first, let us find f of minus 7 and f of 7. Well, f of minus 7 will be equal to just plugging in minus 7. If I plug this in, well, I will have equals to 8. If I plug in 7, in that case, I will have equals to 1. Now I need to find the range. If my range is bigger than 8, lower than it, bigger than 1, is lower than 1, how can I see it? Well, I can use the GDC. Since I have it, it will be easier. Let's go to the GDC, but I don't have a GDC, so I'm using Desmos, well, some calculator online, let's say. So let's go and copy it. So it's 2 minus 12 divided by x plus 5. 12 divided by x plus 5. Perfect. Now we have our equation, 12 minus 2 minus 12 divided by x plus 5. And my domain is between minus 7 and 7. Okay, where's minus 7? It's somewhere here, which means, let me zoom out a little bit. Minus 7 is here, which means this is the point where I can go and find my y. So this is minus 7. And I need the 7 as well. 7 corresponds to here, right? So which means my y value is here. So let me do it. And what are the, so what's the, between minus 7 and 7? What would be my range? Well, it's obvious that in this area here, right, I don't have any y value, right? Because in this range, let me do it actually like this, between 7 and between minus 7 and 7, okay, in this area, I don't have any y value that corresponds to my any x value, right? So there's no y value that I need from here, which means, on the other hand, we have that my f of x, my range, is bigger than 8 here. You see this point is 8, so I can write that f of x, well, I need the range to be basically f of x to be bigger than equal to 8, okay? And for this part, it will be bigger than, less than equal than 1, okay? This corresponds to 1. So f of x is less than equal than 1. How I can write it better? So after I solve this in the screen, so there's no value in between 1 and 8, but that I need something less than 1 or more than 8, that's all good. I go back to the question. Okay, let me delete this part. Well, the range of the f you can write in many ways. Okay, you can write it so between 8 and infinity would be, let's say, you can write 8 close bracket and the plus infinity with a close bracket, or I mean with the bracket that's curly and open. And between 1 and minus infinity, you can write again open bracket. By the way, this should be like this. Yeah, it's the same thing. Open bracket minus infinity until 1, but 1 is also included. I suppose, yes, I can get 1 and 8, right? So it's in my range, yes. And this will be your range, for example. Okay, or you could write this as well. I'm not sure how they would grade it, to be honest, but I think both of them would be the correct answer. But anyways, this is how you find the range, by using the GDC and the notation, and GDC and plugging in your domain. Notation wise, maybe you should check exactly how it is. But anyways, let's go to the question number B. Find the value of f inverse of 0. Well, let's find the f inverse first. That's one of the ways, of course. How do we do it? How do we find the inverse? I write f of x as if I am writing y equals to something. So I have 2 minus 12 divided by x plus 5. And now my goal is to leave x alone. How do I do it? I equate the denominators here first of all. So I have y equals to 2 times x plus 5 divided by x plus 5, right? Minus 12 divided by x plus 5. Okay, now I can deduct the numerators. I have 2x plus 10 minus 12 divided by x plus 5. Perfect. Now I do cross multiplication. I have y times x plus 5 times y is equal to 2x. 10 minus 12 is minus 2. Perfect. Again, my goal is to leave x alone. I bring the x's on one side. I have yx minus 2x is equal to minus 2 minus 5y. Okay. Now, how do I leave the x alone? But it's a common factor. So I keep it out of the parentheses. Then I have y minus 2 inside the parentheses. This will be equal to minus 2 divided by minus 2 minus 5y. Finally, I leave the x alone. X will be equal to minus 2 minus 5y divided by y minus 2. Okay. Now I interchange the notation of the x and y. Okay. Now I can write, finally, at this point only, I can make all the x's y and y the x's. And I have my inverse function. Okay. Now I can plug in 0 here and find my answer. So minus 2 minus 5 times 0 divided by 0 minus 2 is equal to, well, this will be minus 2 divided by minus 2, which is equal to 1. And that's pretty much it. Okay. And let's see if there's anything else. No, that would be all. That would be all. Okay, so I delete the screen. Another method to solve this actually is to, so since we are looking for the inverse value, we can plug in 0 instead of y and find the x. That's also possible. Yes, and then you will find your x value. So for example, we would have 0 equals to 2 minus 12 divided by x plus 5, which means minus 2 will be equal to minus 12 divided by x plus 5, which means the x, after you solve this, will be equal to 1. Okay, because 1 plus 5 is 6, minus 12 divided by 6 is minus 2. Okay, so you'll get the same answer. Okay, let's move on to the question number 8. Okay, let's see what we have here. At Springfield University, the weights in kilogram of 10 chinchilla rabbits and 10 sable rabbits were recorded. The aim was to find out whether chinchilla rabbits are generally heavier than sable rabbits. The results obtained are summarized in the following table. We have 2 samples. Okay, this is important to notice that these are two samples. A t-test is to be performed at the 5% significance level. We have the significance level as well. Write down the null hypothesis and alternative. Well, this part is easy because for the question number A, you just have to have the null hypothesis to be that the mean of the mean of the weights of the chinchilla rabbits are equal to the mean of the zebra. That's our null hypothesis. That's what's assumed to be at the beginning, without any hypothesis, without any alternative way to look at it, right? So MC, or we could, it will be equal to MS, let's say, sable rabbits, chinchilla rabbits. But your H1 will be different. It says that aim is to find out whether chinchilla rabbits are generally heavier. So MC will be bigger than MS. Okay, that's part A. Find down the p-value for this test. Well, this is with GDC, and in GDC you have to use the p-value, two sample t-test. Okay, two sample t-test. Again, I will not, I don't have GDC, so I'll just tell you what you have to go to in the GDC. So it will be two sample t-test, and here after, in order to perform this two sample t-test, you have to write your two columns of lines. So L1 and L2, you can call them. Okay, so you have to go to stats, edit, or you can have, I think it's called either sheets or like the basically Excel looking table. You can use any of them, or depending on the version, I'm not quite sure. Basically, you have to note down this information first of all. Okay, after that you go to the two sample two test. Okay, and then you choose pooled version, not unpooled, but the pooled version of your two sample test. You can choose it there. And then once you do it, once you write down all the rest of the information, and once you wrote down your null hypothesis and sample and alternative hypothesis, which is also required in the table that they ask you information, you will get your p-value. Okay, so for this one, I will leave it to GDC and to this information for you to find. Okay. Write down the conclusion to the test, give a reason for your answer. Well, conclusion works in the following way. If my p-value, okay, let's say p-value is less than my significance level, SL, then I would reject my H0. Okay, in other words, I have to write down there is insufficient evidence to accept my H0. This is more correct way and the acceptable way of writing in IB, I think, also in general for the testing. So you have to say if your again p-value is less than your significance level, then you have insufficient evidence, again insufficient evidence to accept your H0, which means rejecting, but you have to write down in a precise way because insufficient evidence is important word there. So you have insufficient evidence to accept your H0 if your p-value is less than your significance level. If it's other way around, then you say that, okay, since my p-value is greater than my significance level, I have sufficient evidence to accept H0. Okay, exactly, and that would be the end of the whole question. Okay, let's move on. What else we have? Question number 9. A garden includes a small lawn. The lawn is enclosed by the arc of AB, okay, of a circle with the center O and radius 6 meters, and such that AOB is 135 degrees. The straight border of the lawn is defined by the chord AB, okay. The lawn is shown as the shaded region in the following diagram. Okay, that's fine. All of this information is given us in the diagram anyways. Usually that's what IB does, but I'm just reading it just in case. Because sometimes they have the keywords like smaller than, bigger than, or between, within. These words are very crucial because they help you to understand what exactly they're asking you. But in this case, I think it's all clear due to the diagram. This geometry question in some way. So, okay, so question number A, the footpath is to be laid around the curved side of the lawn, which means this part. Okay, find the length of the footpath. Well, this is just a part of the, it's like the arc length of the whole circle. Like, what will be the whole circle? Well, the whole circle will be 2 pi times r, right? But since we are looking at the some part of this circle, and since the whole circle is 360 degrees, so this corresponds to 360 degrees, we need to find what corresponds to 135 degrees. Okay. So if you do cross multiplication here, okay, this would mean just 2 pi r times 135 is equal to 360 times x. How do I leave x alone? Well, x will be equal to 2 pi r times 135 divided by 306. And this will be the arc length that I am looking for. Well, in this case, 2 is 2, pi is pi, r is 6, perfect. 135 divided by 360, that's the answer that I am looking for. After you write it in your calculator, you'll find out the exact answers, and that will be all. Let's see if it's correct, actually. Let me check it. Yes, it's correct. Okay. And that would be your final answer. Of course, you have to calculate it. I just didn't simplify it. Okay. That's done. Find the area of the lawn, which means I have to find this area shaded here. How can I find it? First of all, what's the area of the whole circle? Let's go step by step. The whole circle area is PR squared. What's the area of the part of the circle? Well, PR squared times the angle that we are looking for, this pi, divided by the full angle. Again, this is due to the cross multiplication proportion, but again, I will just make it simple. And now I have the area of this whole pi, but I need only this part, right? This shaded region here. How I can get the shaded region? Well, if from the pi I deduct the region area of the this triangle here, then I will be fine, right? Because the triangle and this little well, half moon shaped region, shaded region, is kind of complementing each other, right? Not kind of, but they are complementing each other. It doesn't look like a half moon just a little bit, but anyways. So I have to deduct from this one the area of the triangle. Okay, let's say area of the triangle. Okay, what's the area of the triangle here? Well, in your booklet, you should have this formula, I think. It is 1/2 times AB times sine C, which means 1/2 times 6 one side, 6 the other side, because they are they have the same length because it's radius, times the sine of the angle between them, which is 135. So my answer will be PR square, which is, well, P6 square, pi 6 square, pi times 6 square, times 135 divided by 260, minus 1/2 times 6 times 6 times sine of 135. Again, I'm not simplifying this. I am leaving it to you to simplify it and use your calculator. But this will be the value that you're looking for the part B. Okay. First, you can find this one, and then you can find this one, and then you can deduct. This will give you points for each step, because in IB you need to show all of your steps. So be sure that you write down every single step, and then you reach this result. Okay. Do not single-handedly write the answer, because the answer is just 1 point or 2 points, but the process itself also costs lots of points. So you have to write everything down to be able to get the full points. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just showing you the method, let's say, because I'm skipping the simplification. Okay, that is bringing us to the end of the question number 9. Well, the next question: Tommaso and Pietro have each been given 1,500 euro to save for college. Pietro invests his money in an account that pays a nominal annual interest of 2.75, compounded half yearly. Calculate the amount Pietro will have in his account after 5 years. Give your answer corrected to 2 decimal places. Well, I can use the formula in the booklet, or I can use the calculator. With the calculator, well, I don't know exactly where we have to go in the calculator, but once we go to that part, we have to write down our information. So in this case, the present value we have to write down there. And usually the present value is noted down as a negative, but that's fine. So we write negative 1,500. Then you have to write down a few other information like the interest rate and etc. Then you have 2 parts where you have PY and then you have CY. Well, here the CY you can choose to be 2 because you are paid 2 times in the one full year, because it's compounded half yearly, so you are paid 2 times, or counted 2 times, let's say, not paid, because PY will be the how many times you are paid during the year. Yes, maybe the wording is incorrect in my case. So you are getting paid 1 time in the year, so it's yearly, like you get the interest rate is yearly, it says annual interest rate. So you have 1 here, but it's half yearly compounded, which means it's compounded 2 times inside the year. So you write down this information and you get the result. That's the part with the GDC. Now I will solve this by using the formula. The formula is here. Future value is equal to present value times 1 plus r divided by 100k to the power of k to the k times n. So future value is what I want to find. I will call it x. Present value is equal to 1,500. Perfect. 1 is equal to 1. R is my interest rate, which is, it is the nominal annual rate of interest, by the way, which is here 2.75. Okay, I write 2.75. And I have on the denominator 1 times k. 1 times k. K is the number of the compounding periods per year. Well, this one, in part A, we have the half yearly, which means 2 times compounded. So you have times 2. To the power of k times n, k is 2, and n is 5, because we are looking the value after 5 years. Okay. And now, once you write this down in your calculator, voila, you have your answer for x. Done. Easy peasy. 3 questions. 3 points. Okay, question number B, part number B, part B. Tommaso wants to invest his money in an account such that his investment will increase to 1.5 times the initial amount in 5 years. Okay, assume the account pays a nominal annual rate of R compounded quarterly, determine the value of R. Well, again, we need to do the same thing. If you go to the GDC, you have to have your present value as negative, okay, which is 1,500, but your future value will be written as positive, and it will be 1.5 times of 1,500, which is 2,250. And then you have the PY and the CY. Again, PY corresponds to the how many times you will get paid. It's 1 times in a year, and CY is how many times it's compounded inside the year. It's quarterly, which means 4. Okay. And with GDC, it's how you find out, and the place for the R will be left empty, I think. And if you click OK, you have the value for the R. Otherwise, we can use the formula again. Let's use it. So I have the future value, which is 2,250. I have the present value, which is 1,500. I have 1, which is 1. I have the R. I have no idea what it is. I have 100 times now 4, because k is the number of the times compounding periods of the year. For quarterly, it's 4, obviously, because 4 quarters is 1 year, and to the power of 4 times 5. Now, I'm not sure if GDC can solve this, but I will solve this by hand, assuming that GDC will not solve. Let's have a look. I need to leave R alone, right? So I have to divide 2,250 by 1,500, but I already know if I divide this by this, I will get 1.5, because it's 1.5 times. So I will write 1.5 equals to 1 plus R divided by 400 to the power of 20. How I get rid of this power here? How can I leave R alone? I can take the log of each side. So I have log of 1.5 is equal to log of, why I had 2 O's here, who knows, log of 1 plus R divided by 400 to the power of 20. Okay, now I have a rule about the log. This power can bring to the front. Okay, we can bring it to the front. Is the rules of a logarithm. So I will do that. I will write it 20 times log of 1 plus R divided by 400. This is again rule of a logarithm. Now I can what I can do, I can calculate this log 1.5. I can bring 20 to the left hand side. Let me do it. So it will be division on the left hand side. So I take care of this. Now on the left hand side, I have some value like log 1.5 divided by 20. This is some value you can calculate with your GDC. You can take a log to be e, base e or 10, whichever you choose, but they have to be the same base. But this will be calculated. And then what you can do, let's say that I took the power base to be e, so it's ln. Then I would have, by using the rules of the logarithm, so e to the power of this will be equal to this. So e to the power of log e 1.5 divided by 20 will be equal to 1 plus r divided by 400. Again, this is something that you can calculate by GDC. And then again, I need to leave my r alone. So I put the 1 on the left-hand side. It will be minus 1 equals to this. Then again, I have a division by 400, which means I have to multiply both sides by 400. So I will have both sides multiplied by 400. Okay. And that will give me the value for r. Important thing that is that how you, if you are able to use the logarithm or not, here is the crucial. If you cannot use your GDC to calculate this, you should be able to know how to use the logarithm. If you can use the GDC to calculate this, skip all of this part, okay? So you can use the GDC, you can write down your answer, good for you. But it's also important to know, of course, the rules of the logarithm. So this will be kind of a, this is kind of a little recap for you to remember the log rules. Okay, let's move on. Question number 11. Again, I don't like these questions. Anyway, a newspaper vendor in Singapore is trying to predict how many copies of the blah 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 they will sell. The vendor forms a model to predict the number of the copies sold each weekday. Okay, according to this model, they expect the same number of copies will be sold each day. That's what they expect. Okay. To test the model, they record the number of copies sold each weekday during a particular week. Okay, that's all good. A goodness of fit test. These you have in your GDC. At the 5-day significance level is used on this data to determine whether the vendor's model is suitable. The critical value of the test is 9.49 given to us, and the hypothesis is also given. The data satisfies the model. The data does not satisfy the model. Find an estimate for how many copies the vendor expects to sell each day. Well, this has nothing to do with the statistics. Well, they expect us to sell the they expect the same number of copies to be sold each day, right? How I can find this then? Well, I have the data, right? I can sum them up and divide by 5 because I have 5 data, and that will be the in average how much they expect to sell every day. Okay, so the answer for this one will be 74 plus 97 plus 91 plus 86 plus 112 divided by 5. I can actually calculate this maybe. Let's use calculator to calculate this quickly. I am very sure that we are gonna need this in the next parts. So 74 plus 97 plus 91 plus 86 plus 112, okay, divided by 5 is 92. Perfect. I write down 92 is the answer for my part. Part number B, I write down the degrees of the freedom for this test. In this case, since we have only one sample, it will be n-1, which is in this case is 5 minus 1 because we have 5 data, which will be equal to 4. This is done as well. Question number BII, write down the conclusion to the test, give a reason for your answer. For the conclusion, we have to calculate some stuff, right? Here you have to use the GDC. You have to write down 2 things, okay? As we did with the t-test, you have to go to the stat edit, or you have to go to the Excel part of your GDC, let's say, where you have the sheets and the columns and the rows. There you have to have 2 columns. The first column, L1, should include all the data that you have. So 74, 97, 91, 86, and 112. The second column should have the expected value that you're looking for, which is 92 for the first day, 92 for the second day, 92 for the third, for the fourth, and for the fifth day, because this is what you expect to sell, right? That's what it says. They expect the same number of copies will be sold each day. So you have this first. Then you go to the GDC, you choose the chi-square goodness of fit, G of F test, okay? And then I think here, once you choose this and once you write down your information, you will have some results, some table of the results, or some values given to you. And inside those values, you will have you will have p-value, okay, and you will have also chi-square value, okay. Now, once you did this testing, how you can draw your conclusion? Well, it works in this way. We said that if your p-value basically is less than your significance level, okay, so if your p-value is less than your significance level, then you reject H0, right? So reject H0. With the chi-square value, it works different. If your chi-square value is less than your critical value, okay, critical value, then you accept, let's say, H0. Okay. Now, this is the way that we draw our conclusion, but you have to be careful. First things, you compare the p-value with the significance level, and you compare the chi-square value with the critical level, okay, the critical value. This is important to distinguish between them. The second thing is to remember that if your p-value is less than your significance level, then you reject. And the second thing is that if your chi-square value is less than your critical value, then you accept H0. But the thing is that another important thing is that you can use either of these ways, this one or this one, p-value or the chi-square, to draw your conclusion. Either is fine. But the wording is important, okay? So since if, let's say, your chi-square value is less than your critical value, since it means that you have to accept your H0, you have to say there is sufficient evidence not to reject H0. Okay, again, sufficient evidence is a critical word in this kind of questions. So you have to say there's sufficient evidence not to reject H0, which means accepting, yes, but it's not precisely accepting. Okay, it's in general, it means accepting, but if you want to be very precise and rigorous about it, you have to say there's sufficient evidence not to reject H0. Okay, or in other conclusions, you have to write it in precisely. I don't know what's the conclusion for this one because I didn't do the GDC test, but once you do it, once you have compared the p-value and the significance level or your chi-square value with your critical value, you have to write down it in a correct manner. There should be sufficient evidence wording, in my opinion, in all of these answers actually. Yeah. And instead of saying accepting, you just say the not rejecting. Instead of saying rejecting, just say rejecting basically. It will be fine. So in this case, for example, if your chi-square value is less than your critical value, then you accept H0, but you don't write accept. You say that there's sufficient evidence not to reject your H0. If your chi-square value is bigger than your critical value, then you reject your H0. Then you say that there's sufficient evidence not to accept your H0. Okay. I hope that I did not confuse you. If your chi-square value is less than your critical value, as here, then you accept your H0. But you say that there's a sufficient evidence not to reject your H0. So you don't have to reject your H0, right? If your chi-square value is bigger than your critical value, then you reject your H0. Then you say you have sufficient evidence to reject your H0. Okay, which means accepting, but you say it in a different wording. That brings us to the end of this question. Then we have 12. Okay, consider the function given to us. The graph of the function given in the below. Perfect. The vertex of the graph given to us. Intersection point at x-axis is given to us as well. Diagram is self-explanatory. Find the value of p. Well, I can find the value of p by remembering that this is the axis of symmetry. And in the axis of symmetry, these two distances, of course, will be equal. Okay. So from -2, I'm looking at the x value coordinates in this case because I'm checking the horizontal distance, right? So from -2 to 0.5, how much I moved? I moved 2.5, right? Distance between -2 and 0.5 is 2.5. So what would be the distance from 0.5 to p? It will still be 2.5. So 0.5 plus 2.5 will be equal to 3. Easy peasy, 1 point. Find the value of ABC. Well, this one requires you to write down some equations. So let's do it. What we need to do? Well, we have the equation for the function a squared plus bx times a times x squared plus bx plus c. I will plug in these points. So if I plug in -2 instead of x, I will have 4a minus 2b plus C equals to 0 because the y coordinate is 0. If I plug in 3, which is my p-value I found in the part A, I will have 9a plus 3b plus c, which will be equal to 0 again. That's fine. Finally, I will plug in 1 over 2 or 0.5 to find my equation. So I will have 1 over 4a plus 1 over 2b plus c. Am I correct in this? Yes. Will be equal to minus 12.5. Okay, easy peasy. Now, let's solve this equation. We can solve it because we have 3 equations, 3 unknowns. We can solve this. I think you can also solve this by using the GDC, which will take you a few seconds only, but I will do it by hand, just for the sake of it. So what I can do here, maybe not let's not go to the right away. 4a minus 2b plus c. Well, I need to get rid of some c's and b's. Let's say what I can do is subtract from the second one the first one. Okay, so I will have 5a plus 5b, because 3b minus 2b will be plus 2b, so 5b. C minus c will be 0. This will be equal to 0. Or I can divide both sides by 5. I will have a plus b equals to 0. Or I can write a equals to minus b, right? This is okay. Now I will do the same by plugging in. I also have minus a equals to b. That's also fine. Instead of a, I will plug in minus b now. Okay, in this third equation. Let's do that. I will have 1 over 4, well, minus 1 over 4b plus 1 over 2b plus c will be equal to minus 12.5. Well, let's go here now. Minus 1 over 4b plus 1 over 2b will be equal to 1 over 4b just, and plus c will be equal to minus 12.5. Okay, what else I can do here? Well, I can subtract these two. That's also fine. I can subtract the first one from the third one. Okay. And then find or let's say subtract the last one from the first one. But in order to do that, I'm just going to multiply this final equation by 4, because this 1 over 4s and 1 over 2s, I don't like them. If I multiply this whole thing by 4, I will have just a. Here I will have just 2b, because 1 over 2 times 4 is 2b. C will become 4c, right? And minus 12.5 will become minus 50. Now, again, as I said, I will deduct the minus 50. Okay. I will deduct from the first one, the last one. No, it's not going to help me. Actually, I shouldn't have done the previous step, because then I will not be able to get rid of my A's and B's. Well, let's go back. So let's write it down again. So we have 1 over 4a plus 1 over 4b, 1 over 2b plus c equals to minus 12.5. Why I don't want to multiply by 4 now? Because if I do, then after subtracting, I will still have some c. But if I subtract now the fourth one from the first one right now, c's will go away. Let's just do it. So it will be basically 15 divided by 4a plus what I have, minus 2b minus 1 over 2b will be equal to minus 5 divided by 2b. C's will go away, and then you will have 0 minus 12.5, which is 12.5. Now I can multiply by 4 to get rid of these 4s and 2s. I will have 15a minus 10b with equal to 50. But I also have that a equals to minus b, right? So instead of a, I can write minus b. So I will have minus 15b minus 10b is equal to 50. So minus 25b equals to 50, which means b equals to minus 2. I have found my b. I can plug this b here to find my c. Once I found my c, and since I know my b, I can plug it both of them, b and c, in any equation here to find my a. Thus, I have my a, b, and c. Okay, this is all by playing with the equations, or you can use GDC to find it in a few seconds. Final question, write down the equation of the axis of the symmetry of the graph. Okay, well, axis of the symmetry is here, as we said. And the equation of the axis of symmetry is that, well, this is only for x, so x equals to 0.5. Okay, so x being equal to something is a vertical line, y being equal to something is a horizontal line. Yes, x being equal to something is vertical line, y being equal to something to some constant value will be a horizontal line. Exactly. So this will be x equals to 0.5. Okay, done with this question, and I think that this is the last one. A company produces and sells electric cars. The company's profit P in thousands of dollars changes based on the number of the cars they produce per month. The rate of change of their profit from producing X electric cars is modeled by this. Okay, this is the rate of change of the profit. The company makes a profit $260,000 when they produce 15 electric cars. This is rate of change function. This is not the function for the profit. This is the function for the rate of the change. Okay, so what we do, find the expression to p in terms of px. Well, I am going to take the integral of this. Integral of the left part will be just p, because dp divided by dx is the derivative of p with respect to x. So integral of derivative will be nothing, so which means integral of this one will be just p. Integral of 1.6x will be minus 0.8x squared, because if I take the derivative now, 2 will come down, right? And the power will decrease by 1. So you will have minus 1.6x. 48 will become 48x, right? And then you have a little c that we always have to write down here, because this constant disappears if you take the derivative, right? Since it disappears, when we take the integral, we don't know what it is exactly, but we know that something there for sure. Okay, this is our p function, but we also have to find our c, because it says expression of p in terms of x, but there's a c here. How to find c? Well, now I can plug in 260 and 15 electric cars. So if I plug in 15 instead of x, I will get the 260. So 260 equals to minus 0.8 times 15 squared is 225, plus 15 times 48 times 15 plus c. Now I can calculate this by using the calculator, of course. 0.8 times 225 is 180, so this is 180 minus, of course, there's a minus in front of it. And 14 times 15, well, it's easy to calculate actually, but I will just use calculator. 720, and I have plus c. Okay, so 180 minus 180 and 720 will be equal to 540 plus c. And now if I want to find my c, c will be equal to, I will put them 540 to the left hand side, and then I will have minus 280, I think. Yep, yeah, that's the answer. So finally, I will go back to my equation, and instead of c, I will write minus 280. And voila, I have the answer for the part A. Okay, the company regularly increases the number of the cars it produces. Describe how their profit changes if they increase the production to over 30 cars per month and up to 5 cars per month. Justify your answer. Well, let's see. There's many ways to find it. Let's just find the 30 cars. So I will just plug in 30 here and see what happens. And then I will plug in 50 here. Let's see what happens. And I guarantee you that after you plug in 30, you will have, let's say, some value x1. After you plug in some value 50, you will get value of x2, right? Let's say. So I will guarantee you that this value will decrease. Okay, so your answer will be that the profit will decrease if they increase the production to over 30 cars per month and up to 50 cars per month. Okay, why? If you plug the value in, by the way, and write down the values, you will see that x1 will be bigger than x2, and then you can see that, okay, profit will decrease, and this is the reason. Or you could say that this is the rate of change function for p, and it is negative. Okay, so slope here is negative. If the slope is negative, so it's a decreasing function, right? So decreasing function, which means that your profit will decrease over time. And that will be the end of the whole question. Okay, now we are at the end of the whole test. It took more than 80 minutes, I think, or maybe less. Okay, we start at 12:07, so it took us 68 minutes. Okay, but keep in mind that I use 68 minutes also to explain you what I am doing here, which means, well, I'm not comparing this solution to what you will do actually in the exam, you know, the stress, the pressure, timing, etc. But keep in mind that this also includes the explanation part and my talking. Right? So you can deduct from here 28, half an hour, so it will be 40 minutes, which means you will be able to solve this whole standard level paper 1 question in around 40 minutes if you are if you have practiced enough these past papers, in my opinion. So, and if you do remember this, some of these formulas, etc., so it's possible, let's say, that to solve this thing in 40 minutes, of course. But this is the, let's say, the best possibility, let's say. And the important thing that you use the 80 minutes in a smart way, and you find the answers, correct answers, and you write down everything, the process one by one, every single step, and you have the full points for the marks. You don't lose points for no reason. You don't lose points for not writing the what you know already. It's important to write down your every single thing that you do for the question as a solution. So being smart about the minutes is better than being faster sometimes. Okay, it's important to be fast. Yes, if you don't solve this in 5 hours, you should be fast. Okay, but keep in mind being smart about how many minutes you have, or organizing and strategizing your minutes, and the ability to solve this question properly is more important than being fast. Okay, it's important that how much points you will get at the end, right? It's the exam in that sense. And to maximize it, you should be able to control the minutes as you wish. You should be able to have a strategy. For example, me personally, I don't like statistic questions, so I leave it to the end usually. But if it's something simple, I would solve it. So it depends on you, like really. For example, for me, geometric questions are easy peasy right away, so I will just focus on them and get the 3 points in my head. But the statistics, okay, even if I will be able to solve them, for example, I will still leave them for the end because, you know, I don't want to stress myself. I will just focus on the things that I know and get the easy 100% points, which in my mind, and then move to the things that I want to work on more. Okay. But you could have different strategies. It's just one way, of course. Okay. Do a strategy that's perfectly fit for you only. I mean, you could be perfectly fit for someone else as well, but that's perfectly fit for you specifically. Okay. Do something that's good for you, that you would feel very comfortable with solving it. You can find dozens of strategies by asking your friends. I could give you one like did now. You could with these things could be one strategy, but you can also come up with something that is different as well. It's up to you really. It's up to you how fast you solve, how good you solve these questions under the time pressure, of course, and so on and so on. Okay, so I will end the video and thank you very much for watching me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, also keep in mind that I really solved it a little bit in a fast pace. So I will, if the explanations were not perfectly well, sorry for that from now. But yeah, I hope you will find it helpful. And yeah, thank you very much for watching me. And again, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah. Okay, that's what happens after you talk 1 hour. And yeah, take care, and hopefully you will enjoy my future videos as well. And